Hello and welcome to the Discover History YouTube channel, and like I said, we're not going to be doing daily videos anymore. However, we will do them as in when, for example, an opportunity arises. And today myself, Ian and Helen has decided on a little trip out to take in the beautiful sunshine, and what's better than going to visit a nearby battlefield. Now, you're probably thinking that doesn't look like Worcester. It definitely is not Powick Bridge. Well, this is actually a battle that is sort of connected with Worcester, and this is the battlefield, or one of about 3 proposed sites of the Battle of Stow on the Wold. And just to give you a bit of an orientation, basically, on the ridge in the distance with the trees on, that is basically the outskirts of Stow on the Wold. So just beyond that is Stow on the Wold, and that high sloped area just over there is actually the locality, one of the proposed localities of where the Royalist army drew up. So they would have been lined up across there in standard formation. So you would have had your pikemen in the middle, musketeers on either flanks of the regiments dotted on that slope, cavalry generally on the wings basically, and that was commanded by a man called Astley. Now Astley, I've got a quote for you here and I've wrote it down just to get it correct, was said to be an honest and brave plain man and fit for the office of Major General. Now Astley, interestingly, is quoted, it's Clarendon that quotes this in the history of the rebellion. And there is also another interesting fact, as he is the man that is misquoted in the famous film Cromwell with Richard Harris, because famously in the film with Richard Harris, the film Cromwell says the words, and I always get these muddled up, so I've wrote it down as well. "O Lord, thou knowest how busy I must be this day. If I forget thee, do not forget me." And the interesting thing is, it was Astley that said that at the Battle of Edge Hill, but Astley was in charge over there. Sadly, when you get the film with Richard Harris playing Oliver Cromwell, he says it in that film, which is wrong. It's Astley who's commanding those Royalist troops over there. So the Royalists are drawn out over there with their backs to Stow on the Wold. So the ridge line, this high ground that we're actually stood on, where Ian is filming from, where I am actually stood, is the line of the Parliament army facing the Royalists. And they would have been drawn up in the same way. So pikemen and musketeers, cavalry on the wings, ready to sweep down. And this is a perfect landscape for fighting in, because you've got 2 opposing ridges and a nice open battle or killing zone down in the middle. Perfect for the cavalry to sweep down, whilst the infantry fight it out in the middle with possibly artillery support. Now, this battle was fought on the 21st of March 1646. So why is that linked to Worcester? Well, what you've got to remember is Worcester is occupied late in 1642, and most people will say Worcester is the Royalist city. And there was a lot of battles throughout the Civil War, from the Battle of Powick all the way through. For example, we have Marston Moor in 1644, a large battle fought late in the day. There's a lot of battles, but sadly no one's actually winning. There may be a victory on the one side, there may be a victory on the other, and pamphlets of the era often say they've won when they haven't actually won. So it's a very confusing period, and it's down to the fact that the men fighting were mainly trained bands, militias, local men fighting a battle and then going home afterwards. However, by 1644-1645, Oliver Cromwell and Thomas Fairfax had formed the New Model Army, and they're starting to win a lot of the battles across Britain. And what we then have, interestingly, is one final field army for the Royalists, and they're actually drawn out up there in 1646. And this, remember, is after the Battle of Naseby, this great victory of the Parliament New Model Army. Worcester, interestingly, is one of the last cities to stand for the king. So what you have to remember is Worcester is being besieged, and here at Stow on the Wold you've got the Royalists drawn out opposite the Parliament forces under Morgan stood up here. the battle is fought, and at first the Parliament troops are actually not doing brilliantly. In other words, they're struggling to push the Royalists back. However, eventually the Royalist line crumbles on that slope over there, and there's only one place really for the Royalists to go, and that is to run away from their attacker, which is in that direction, right into the middle of Stow-on-the-Wold. We know for a fact there is a running battle during the rout that leads you right into the very streets and alleyways of Stow-on-the-Wold. If you go to Stow-on-the-Wold, you will see the church there. That ended up being used for prisoners. There is also a lot of fighting in the marketplace. One of the biggest collection of dead actually was in the marketplace, and it was said for days afterwards the streets in the marketplace ran red with the blood of Royalist soldiers. So it was quite an horrific battle. Those that did manage to escape from Stow-on-the-Wold here fled to the closest Royalist garrison. And this is what links to Worcester, because they fled from Stow-on-the-Wold straight into Worcester. And Worcester complains because in 1646 we were already under siege. There was a lot of troops in the city, and now we had further Royalist troops to look after. We know the bakers had a major problem with baking bread for the citizens and for the army. At one point they actually flogged the bakers in Worcester because they did not bake the bread for the local garrison inside. We also know that there was a large group of Irishmen that fought at Stow-on-the-Wold that also entered Worcester and caused a lot of damage, a lot of drunkenness by all accounts that took place there. But what happened to Astley? Well, Astley survived the battle, and it's quite an amazing feat. He was 66 years of age, a veteran of the 30 Years' War, and a true English royalist. As I said before, he is said by Clarendon in the History of Rebellion, as I mentioned before, an honest, brave, plain man and fit for the office of Major General. But the interesting thing is, he is found in the middle of Stow-on-the-Wold. He actually sits upon a drum purely because of his age, and it was said that he told the rest of the Royalists around him to lie down their arms, lay down their arms and surrender. It was said that he said, "Gentlemen, ye may now sit down and play, for you have done all your work." And that's a famous quote by Astley in the middle of Stow-on-the-Wold as his army crumbled around him. So, as I mentioned, we're not going to do videos every day, but we can never give up on an opportunity. We were in Stow-on-the-Wold, just over there, and we knew that there was a battle here that is also connected with Worcester. Like I said, it was the Royalists from here that fled into Worcester, causing more problems, to be fair. And then the Parliament eventually helped support other Parliament troops besieging Worcester. So we have links with Stow-on-the-Wold. It's really worth going to visit. A bit of advice for you all, remember, we have to remember social distancing. We've got to wash our hands, and obviously now we have to wear a face covering when we're in confined spaces, shopping, that sort of thing. But a bit of advice, support our heritage. Heritage needs our help. Get out there and explore. Pop into Stow-on-the-Wold, visit the church, find the memorial outside, look at the market cross where Astley sat and famously said those words. Or maybe just travel nearby to Donington, just nearby in Gloucestershire, and you will find the war memorial. The memorial is in a field located at the moment with a load of oats growing in it. Anyway, on that note, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Technically, it's the end of the First Civil War, 1646. The last Royalist field army is wiped out. The cities like Worcester are going to surrender. The war is over. But if you remember the video that I did the other night, it's not all over. There was rebellions throughout 1647, 48, there's the execution of the king in 1649, and then the war starts again with the Battle of Dunbar, and then finally ending with the Battle of Worcester on the 3rd of September 1651. Anyway, on that note, stay safe, enjoy the weather, and we'll see you with another video soon. Bye bye.